Hey now, it's Ruben with Help Find the Others. So I feel like I start out every video by saying this, but sorry, it's been so long. Um, One of you guys texted me this morning. I woke up to a text and, was like, hey, haven't seen any content in a while. Um, and the last thing we heard you talk about was seasonal depression. Are you okay? And yes, I'm fine. I'm doing great, actually. I, have awoken from my winter slumber, like I hope many of you are starting to do. And there's yard work to be done, and the trees and flowers are blooming. And this is, a terrific time of year to be alive and to be outside. So I hope everyone is enjoying that. As far as the amount of content I've been producing, since New Year's, I've been basically involved in the full time job that is finding a job. And now there's work to be had in this area of the country, at least. But unfortunately, I'm rather picky as to who I'm going to sell my time to and for how much. So, you know. Yeah, that's so it's a long process of elimination from all the jobs that would hire me, to find the ones that not only would hire me but that I would work for. And so it takes up a lot of my time and energy. And the energy is one thing that I've realized uh, is waning with this channel. And that's obviously has a lot to do with me and not producing content frequently. As with anything you do in life, you get out what you put in. And this year so far I haven't been putting much into it, so I guess it's understandable that I'm not getting as much out of it as I was this time last year, maybe. So, for whatever aspect of that is my fault, I'm sorry. But for whoever is still, taking part in the Discord channel, and listening to the podcasts and watching videos when I do put them up, and you're still here, whether you're taking part or watching, being a silent partner in the Help Find the Others movement, if you want to call it that. I'm grateful for anyone who's still hanging around. But I have noticed that, new subscribers have dried up, new views have dried up. It's kind of definitely petering out. But again, I've always said it's not about how many, it's about who. And so if 10 years from now I haven't made videos in 10 years, and someone sees my video on YouTube and is like, oh my God, and sends me an email, like, that's going to be just as amazing as anyone who's emailed me up till now. So, I'm going to try to put more energy into the equation. I think Stan's been kind of going through the same thing as far as the podcast is going. He's been moving and stuff like that. So, he doesn't have time to edit episodes as quickly as we were. But also I've had a hard time contacting people that are at least expressed initial interest in being on the podcast. And I don't, Stan and I only every now and then have something to talk about. We really need guests, and people just aren't responding to emails, which is a common thing, and not just with this channel and stuff like that. I've noticed that with friends and family and everybody. The email seems like the easiest thing to avoid nowadays, and it's frustrating. But I was thinking about it this morning, and it gave me a topic to talk about, because once someone does respond back, overwhelmingly the most common response is, sorry, I've been really busy, I just don't have enough time. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm talking about us. I'm not preaching, from up high about time management. But there's a mantra that I think is important to remember, and it is that, lack of time is not your problem. It's your misuse of the time you have. And you can expand that out to your whole life. You can talk about, just an hour or your whole life. It doesn't matter. That is the truth. That you can't control how much free time you have. You can't control how much time you have left to live. All you can control is how you manage that time. And none of us seem to be managing that time very well. On the small scale, okay, I can look at a couple reasons why that may be. And it comes down to somewhat of social engineering, whether that is planned or just the way certain things in our society have shaped our lifestyles. But I really, a lot of it has to do with social media, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that our TV watching, entertainment, whatever it is this immediate streaming kind of thing, right? And what I mean by that being social engineering is that since there was a TV in every household, we've been, society has been structured based around that. Think about, well, depending on how old you are, but, think about in the 80s when people met at a bar or a party or whatever. What was a very common thing that they said? Hey, did you see blah, blah, blah last night? Did you see Jeopardy last night? Did you see Law and Order last night? Did you see, or people be like, hey, I can't wait for TGIF tonight, to watch Family Matters or whatever was on TGIF. Because you had to, if you wanted to watch something, you either had to VCR it or you had to watch it that night. And everybody was doing that. Everyone seemed to have a little bit more structure to their life based around the fact that they were going to watch TV. Now, more people, watch TV than probably even then, but it's all over the place. It's binge watching old show. Someone right now watching this video just started binge watching Breaking Bad, a show that ended years ago, right? And so you'll sit down and spend 4 hours maybe watching that show. At 3 a.m, you'll do that, or at midnight you'll stay up till 3 a.m. watching some show that you could watch at any time. But because you can watch it at any time, and there's no commercials, and you can just finish the whole thing, we do. And then we go, oh my God, where'd the time go? Well, the time was you watch so much more TV now, and there isn't a structure to it. Before, it would be like you watch these shows because they're on, then you watch Letterman, then you go to bed. And then now you don't have that structure. And so I think there's more of a possibility of you to waste your time. Social media is the same way. Think about it. Even if you look at Facebook or Twitter for 15 minutes and you are always conscious to be like, it's been 15 minutes, I got to put my phone away. I mean, if you do that 4 times in a day, that's an hour. That's an hour out of your time that was completely wasted. I don't give a shit what you do on social media. It's a waste of your time. And a lot of people, most people, spend more than 15 minutes at a time and do that more than 4 times a day. So right there, if you think of streaming and social media, we are wasting a lot of our time. Right now, you're watching this video. Like, what the fuck? You might like watching what I have to say and everything like that, but I'm wasting your time. I'm not gonna lie about that. But not all time wasting is bad. I guess I can add that aspect. So that's something, and there's very little that most people do to hold themselves accountable. It seems like it's one or the other. Like you're either like, I don't watch TV and I don't have a Facebook. I don't have any social media. And there's people that do that and they seem to really have their shit together because they don't waste much time. They do everything with intention. A little shout out to a help find the others, person on the Discord, Rich, and he was on the podcast. He's very inspirational because he's one of those people. But it seems like people that I talk to, at least, are either like him and they just completely cut that shit out of their life to, eliminate as much distraction and time wasting as they can, or you're just fully in and you're upset about it, but you can't do anything about it. And it's almost like an addiction. There's very few people that are in the middle that are like very much cognizant of, how much time they're wasting and, are able to stop themselves from doing it, but also, have a little guilty pleasure show they watch, and, talk to some friends on Facebook because they live across the country or whatever. It's very hard to walk that line. It's a slippery slope, much like drug addiction and stuff like that, to where our screens and everything are like heroin, and it's hard to microdose heroin, right? To find that middle ground would be great, but it does seem like you just need to cut the crap, Now, I guess to relate that to psychedelics, which is why people started watching this channel and stuff like that. And I feel that need to, like, every video I need to mention psychedelics, I guess. And I do need to put it out there that that's not the number one thing on my brain all the time, right? I guess you could consider me a drug enthusiast, but I obviously have lots of other things that I'm into and interested in and read about and talk about and stuff like that. But to relate time and time management to psychedelics, the feeling that you can get, and frequently get, and I hope you guys get, with a psychedelic experience, of timelessness, is the one avenue of the psychedelic experience that I wish we could bring back and just have all the time. Because we talked about that before, right? That like there's so much of the psychedelic experience that is so ephemeral, and just goes away like a dream. And then it's easy to fall back into, just consensus reality and the feelings and emotions that we normally have. And we miss the feelings and emotions and realizations that we have under a psychedelic experience, but it's very hard to hang on to them. The number one feeling and emotion and realization that I wish we could bring back is timelessness. And what I mean by timelessness, I guess, is it could be as simple as when you're trying to figure out how long you've been tripping, right? And you're looking at your phone or your clock, and you're like, I can't even, what time, and you can't even figure out maybe even what the numbers are, but you can't figure out how long it's been and how long it's going to be. So that's a really small, like, time distortion, timelessness kind of thing. But what is also really amazing, and I wish we could bring back, is the timelessness of, like, not feeling old, not feeling the pressure of, like, I'm running out of time. That realization of, like, I have an infinite amount of time. It's me that's in the way. It's me that's not using my time correctly. And I have that feeling basically every time I trip. And then it goes away. Once I'm back in, like, the structure of society of, like, this is how many hours of the day you should be asleep. This is how many hours of the day you should be working. This is how many hours of the day you should do this. This is how many you should have 40 hours of the week that you sell to someone. You should sleep 8 hours a night. You should, there's all these things, these shoulds, which are very frequently not accomplished. Well, work is, but very few people get the amount of sleep they need, and very few people, have the amount of free time that they wish they did. But, also another way to look at it, and it's a realization, it's not really a feeling of timelessness, it's a realization, because if you look at it, psychedelics make us feel at one with the cosmos, right? Well, time is an illusion. It's an agreement that earthlings have come to because of how the circumference of our planet and the speed of which it is spinning creates a certain amount of distance to make one revolution. And we've divided that into an equal amount of 24 and called those hours. And we've divided that up into minutes, seconds, blah, blah, blah. Right? Well, that illusion is only because we're on this planet. If we were on any other planet that had any other different circumference or was spinning at a different speed, time would be completely different. It would feel completely different. A year takes 365 of those revolutions because of the speed and the size of the orbit around our sun. Any other sun, any other planet, with any other orbit, and a year would feel totally different and be totally different. And we would have totally different amount of time. And whoever inhabited those planets would have to come to a completely different agreement. And so I've had that realization at my property in New York, where you can see the stars very well because it's in the middle of nowhere. Which if no one's ever been able to see like the Milky Way, like if you live in the city and you can't see stars good enough to see the Milky Way, you need to do that. I mean, that's up there with, I've never seen the Northern Lights, but I mean, like, everyone should want to see Northern Lights. Everyone should see the Milky Way, because when you do, and especially when you're tripping, I mean, it's almost scary, right? The feeling of like, every one of those is another sun with planet. You get this feeling of like how vast space is, and it's the closest, without going to like a planetarium or whatever. It's the closest firsthand experience you can get to seeing how big the cosmos actually is. And I was having this like scared moment of like how small and insignificant I am, but it was eased, that tension and that fear was eased by the like realizing distance is time, and how immense the distance is in space and stuff like that means there is an infinite amount of time as well. And like I said, that's just a tripping realization that once you're not tripping, like you're back to, oh, I gotta work on Monday or whatever. It's the one thing that I wish you could bring back to really carry with you all the time. And I know, there's a lot of things we can do to feel like we have more time, or at least feel like we're utilizing our time better. And I've been trying to meditate every night or every afternoon, depending on when I have the time to do it. And I realize that you can train yourself to really, clear your mind and live in the now. And that's the key to feeling like you have a lot of time, is to live in the now. And meditation trains you to do that. I totally understand that. I've known that most of my life. I just have often felt like I don't have the time to meditate. I don't have the time to sit down. Same with yoga. I feel like I don't have the time or the knowledge to do it, but I understand that once that becomes a part of your routine and stuff like that, that you can start to train your brain to feel like you have an adequate amount of time to do whatever you want. So, as far as like suggestions for what I'm doing and what I think people that feel that way, that feel like you don't have time, is to get into those things and start training your brain to live in the now and to feel timelessness and to just slow down and calm down. And so those two things. Also, what I've tried doing, and this is another thing that's inspired by Rich, like I mentioned, but not just Rich. Most of the people on the Discord journal, and I've started doing that, and I've already realized like this really makes you accountable for the passage of time. To look back and be like, oh, okay, that was just 2 days ago. I was feeling that. That's right. You can get so caught up in like, either regretting the past or just ignoring the past, and so focused on the future and what you have to do and what you have to accomplish, that if you're not looking backwards and you're not taking a moment to just kind of hold yourself accountable for your day, for your week, for your month, it can just kind of roll out of control. And so I've really noticed that it helps already, and it's something I wish I would have been doing a while ago, along with journaling and kind of getting my like initial thoughts for the day out. Like, what did I wake up feeling like? What did I come out of the sleep world with an idea? Aside from getting that down on paper and being able to revisit that, I've been writing down a goal for the day, a goal for the week, and kind of a goal for the month, a goal for the year, and just keeping myself accountable for my goals. Is my plan with the month and year is to keep myself accountable and write down, what have I done to work towards that goal. And as far as the month or day and week, kind of the same thing for the week, but the day I'm like, I accomplished my goal yesterday. My goal for today is this. My goal for tomorrow is this. And so I've been writing that. And I already feel that it's already, going to help me manage my time a little better and be more accountable for, my success or my accomplishments, whatever. I really think that's a good idea. Now, Stan bought me a passion planner, and I haven't started using that, but that's kind of what my journaling is moving towards, is like getting used to that kind of routine in my day of writing stuff down and keeping track of my progress and where I'm going. And so I don't want to like start the planner and stop it. So I want to make sure that like, I'm used to that. That's part of my daily routine. And then I'm going to incorporate the passion planner into the routine as well. So yeah, I if those are suggestions or just telling you what I'm doing, I don't know. But I guess my, the main thing in this rambling nonsense of a video that I want to say is like, it's a cop-out to miss out on any opportunity in life that you want by saying, I don't have the time. You have all the time in the world. Because most of the time that you are saying you that you have in the day, but it's not free time, you're just not using it properly. One thing I've come to realize, everyone seems to have this idea in their head that like they work too much to have time to do anything. And I have to say, the biggest lesson I've learned about life in my 2 years of being a stay-at-home dad, where I've, yes, I have responsibilities with my kid, right? I have these responsibilities, but I don't really have any time constraints other than getting him on and off the bus. I don't have any time constraints. I can do whatever I want with the day with him. And he can even skip school. It's just preschool, whatever. So like there's no time constraints. There's financial constraints, sure, but you're kidding yourself if you think you're ever going to get away from that. And we talked about that in the financial freedom talk on the podcast or whatever. But the time thing, I haven't fixed any of my problems by having an infinite amount of time in my day to do whatever I want. It hasn't equated to freedom. And so, that's where I've come to the realization I need to go back to work, because structure and discipline and accountability are much more important than free time. And if you don't have those three things, then all the free time in the world is not going to solve your problems. It's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you feel more successful. It's not going to make you feel more free. And so for anyone who feels like trapped in a 9-to-5 lifestyle and feels like they can't do anything, start holding yourself accountable to outside of that 9-to-5. What are you doing? What are you spending your time on? Is it necessary? Is it what you want to be doing? If someone has reached out to me and said, hey, I'd like to be on the podcast, and then doesn't have the time to respond to my response, what you didn't have time in the first place, apparently, to even, all we have to do is talk a couple times, talk for a couple hours, and there you go. Like, most people have the time to do that. If you feel that you don't, you really need to look at what you're doing with your time and hold yourself accountable. Write it down so you can look at it and, kind of sum up what you're doing, and just, like I said, hold yourself accountable, create discipline, create structure. That's what I've been doing, and I really feel a difference already. And this is without any drugs, right? This is just a simple routine to add to your day. I've done it, like so many people. Think about it. When you wake up, how long does it take until you look at your cell phone? Usually when I wake up, my wife is already on her phone, right? And unfortunately, my alarm clock is my phone. So when my alarm clock goes off, I have to look at my phone, and I'll see a message, and then I'll end up, 10 minutes later, I'm watching some YouTube video about hockey fights, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I get out of bed, So I've tried to replace that with, like, I hit the alarm clock off and grab that journal and start writing. And I've been starting my day that way. And it's been motivating me and energizing me as much as any microdose, like morning kind of thing would, or cup of coffee or anything like that. It's amazing that just shifting perspective and routine, what that does for your motivation and mental state and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. That was pretty rambly. I didn't mean for that to be a half-hour long video. But I guess I mainly just wanted to talk about time management and also say, like, hey, I'm still here. And again, if anyone wants to be on the podcast, you gotta respond to my emails at least. I've got a lot of emails and I've sent responses and nothing, or people just send back, like, hey, I'm busy, don't have the time. Okay. That's fine. I understand, but, kind of just look at that and see if you really don't have the time. As far as like reaching out and making connections and having conversations with people, I will always make the time to do that. And, I just suggest and urge anyone that's wanted to talk to me or come on the podcast, just make the time to do it, and I will do the same. But yeah, I think that's all I got for today. Hope everyone is enjoying the spring. Get outside, get some sun on your face, listen to some birds, and thanks for helping find the others. See ya.